Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Yellow Card Podcast. It is episode 40. Your host, Diego Galvez. This episode is brought to you by Couch Guys Sports. Check out everything on couchguysports.com when it comes to content, entertainment, podcasting, everything. You name it, we have it. Merchandise, couchguysportshop.com. Just check out everything on there. We'll be soon developing some lines on there for merchandise, so be on the lookout for that. As always, your host, Andrew Fasciano, Chris Jones, obviously myself, Chris Jones with the Italian representing shirt.
Forza
Pretty
Azzurri,
happy.
baby. Forza Azzurri.
Let's go. And as always, you might have learned about it just on episode 39, but now in episode 40. The Yellow Card Podcast is brought to you by Hexagon. You ever do a workout and feel like you need a massage after, boys?
Every time I do a workout.
Yeah.
Way too much.
Yeah, every time I even stretch, like stretch is such a unnecessary part of soccer.
Dude, four rounds of workout, man. It's tough. Need that massage to get in there.
Never mind the fifth round. But get your massage without leaving the house. Don't let the pain and soreness slow you down, especially after the fourth round. Hexagon revives muscles, boosts circulation, and releases energy so you can recover faster and lift better. Take it wherever you need it, work, gym, the trail. Put the power of percussion massage treatment to your hands. It's portable, adjustable, powerful, and Hexagon is just trusted by the pros to deliver the ultimate in recovery. We said it before and we'll say it again. You can even use it for percussion therapy. What is percussion therapy? You may be asking yourself. That kind of therapy actually boosts muscles function and recovery by penetrating deep into the muscle tissue with a series of rapid and concentrating pulsating strokes. Gain back control of your body and achieve long-term pain relief with Hexagon. You might be wondering, how can I get some discount money in there? Well, tell you what. Get 10% off by using the code CGS10. That is 10, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. At the checkout, get 10% off, comes with a charger, carrying case. It takes care of you. 10% off, CGS10. Use it, take it or leave it. So, without further ado, we got a lot to talk, boys. We got Euro's still ongoing. We got Copa America still ongoing, which we need to get into that conversation because there is some concerning reports already coming out of South America with Copa America. And we still have a lot of transfer talks to talk about, considering Tottenham are going through a breakup worse than any Taylor Swift album that ever come out.
What a comparison.
They just can't seem to figure out their relationship status. They have at one moment they have one thing, and then the next moment it's like single. So without further ado, what are we getting to Euros 2020? I know Chris is just waiting to go off on Italy, which, dude, I don't blame you. Like I said it, Italy's heavily underrated, but like they're probably the best team right now in the Euros. But let's do this. Let's kick off the Euro 2020 conversation going by the top two in every group, just real quick. All right, so either Andrew or Chris, take us through who are the top two of each group, and let's get the conversation going.
All right, you want to do it, Chris, or should I?
I'll let you know what. I'll let you do it because I feel like I'm going to be talking much more.
That makes sense. All right, so let's start with Group A. The aforementioned Italian team are atop that group with 6 points, 2 wins, no goals conceded. They're on fire right now. And Wales is in second place in that group with 4 points. Wales and Italy are playing each other to conclude the group, so that will be an interesting matchup to figure out who ends up winning that group. Group B has Belgium atop it right now, also with 2 wins. Russia and Finland both have 3 points. Russia's in second right now via the tiebreaker. In Group C, we have Netherlands, one of the other teams with 2 wins in the tournament so far. And again, second and third, both on 3 points. It's Ukraine and Austria in that group. Ukraine currently in second due to the tiebreaker. In Group D, a group we spent a long time talking about last episode, we have Czech Republic leading the group with 4 points. England is in second with 4 points. That group is still completely in play. I think any team still can qualify, finish in the top 3. So no one is eliminated yet there. In Group E, we have Sweden leading the group with 4 points. Slovakia is in second with 3 points, but Spain and Poland have each only played 1 game, so that could change today. And then lastly, Group F, the match currently in progress between France and Hungary is, I believe, still a draw. So if that result holds out, France would solidify their spot in first with 4 points. Portugal right now is in second with 3 points in that group. And maybe a little bit of a surprise, Germany still only have played 1 game. So we got to see how they fare in their second game before we really deliver the verdict, but they have no points after they lost to France.
All right. So thank you, Andrew, for that update. Group A. Let's get the conversations rolling. Group A: Italy, Wales, Switzerland, Turkey. No surprises here. Italy has looked absolutely phenomenal. I mean, Chris's favorite Italian boy, Gianluigi Donnarumma. Holy crap! What a goalie!
But he's arguably the best goalie in the world right now.
I would almost agree with you. I would almost wholeheartedly agree with you. Talk to me about Italy. Go ahead. Just talk to me about Italy, because there's only so much I can say about them. So
they're just one thing that Diego said in their last game when they played Turkey is he wished that their passes were a little bit more crisp. Definitely could be a little bit better. 85% there. Didn't have control of the ball in the majority of the game, but outshot them 13-6. And Italy had 3 shots on target, and they all went in. The trio up front of Immobile, Insigne, and Berardi have gelled really nice together. You know, you're getting Bonucci and Cicciolini as your 2 center backs that have already played together. They have the chemistry, so it's already giving them the advantage there. And then against Switzerland, you had a guy like Manuel Locatelli who scored 2 goals for them. You know, he's a young midfielder. He's only 23. He's playing for Sassuolo, so he's got plenty of time to grow as well. So this team literally looks like they could be on the move. And by on the move, they could be on the move out of the quarterfinal and potentially in the semifinal if they keep up this pace. My only thing is with this team is I wish they would play Bernardeschi more. Obviously, it's tough when Manuel Locatelli is playing really well. You still got Jorginho managing your center defensive midfield. You got Nicola Barella, who's played played well. He hasn't shown up really on the stat sheet, but he's played well in the 2 games so far. And then you got, Federico Chiesa, Acerbi. You've got some talent here. This is a deep team, and this team, in my opinion, will go as far as Gianluigi Donnarumma will allow them to. If he's going to play like this and he's going to be on top of his game, Italy is going to be a tough out no matter who they play.
Well, here's what I see. Like, anytime that we've seen Mancini manage a team, that 4-3-3 formation is by far the most lethal you can ever go up against. He did it against Manchester City. He's done it now again here in Italy, right? When you look at that 3 spot in the midfield, you can make the argument that while Barella, Jorginho, and Locatelli are your main starting points for that 3, you can easily make the argument that you can say Chiesa, Bernardeschi, and maybe Raspadori could be the substitute 3 for that line, right? Because all 3 of them are that good technically as well. Like Chiesa could fill in for that Barella spot. Bernardeschi can fill in for Jorginho, and Raspadori can fill in for Locatelli, right? I absolutely am enjoying that chemistry that Locatelli and Jorginho have. Like, it's throwing me reminders of when AC Milan used to have Kaká and Robinho in it. It's throwing me shades of when when Real Madrid had Luis Figo and Zinedine Zidane on there. Not to the same statue of legendariness like Figo and Zidane, because those two guys are just basically untouchable at this point. But it is that good of a chemistry where the passing just between those two is so crisp, so natural, and they totally understand their style of play. It's a pass, run the line, cross it to whoever the top three are there available, and keep the play going. Right? It's just very driven, very offensively driven, very crisp. I absolutely love that. I think for me, the one thing that I would like to see more out of this team is utilizing Chiesa more. And the reason I say Chiesa a little bit more is because we saw what he could do with Juventus when Juventus needed him. Uh, Especially a Juventus team that had Ronaldo, Dybala, they had Morata. They have plenty of offensive pieces, but like what you needed to create an outside offensive attack, Federico Chiesa was your guy. I would love to see a little bit more involvement there. I would like to see Matteo Pessina be utilized as well, but again, when you're competing against Gianluigi Donnarumma, I'm not entirely sure how you can be utilized more. And I agree with Chris. I would like to see Bernadeschi be put into the game a little bit earlier, maybe like in the 60th, 70th minute to replace either a Locatelli or a Jorginho. But in this pace, like Italy's just killing it. I agree with Chris. I think that if they're not semifinal bound, something went wrong along the way. So
real quick. So before that, the way that it looks like it's shaped out, if Italy makes it to the quarterfinals, they're playing probably Belgium, which is a tough matchup for them.
Very tough.
So that's where I'm a little bit hesitant on that. But before Andrew, I let you do anything involving the Italians, I want to break a score alert here in the Hungary and France game. Hungary has scored the first goal of the game in the second minute of added time in the first half. Hungary is up 1-0 right now.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Here we go.
That's a big potential upset.
I mean, Hungary. We'll get to them. We'll get to them.
Yeah, we'll get to them.
Yeah.
For me personally, I think Italy has been the team that has been most impressive in the tournament so far. I think if you think about sort of the classic Italian teams that do well at the Euros and the World Cup, you think about a team that defends, and beats you 1-0 or 2-1 by a goal, close games, where they don't really give you any opportunities. Where this Italian team has kind of branched out from that is that they're scoring a lot of goals, and a lot of goals from open play too. They're not just looking for goals from set pieces with their big center backs. You got Immobile has scored up front. Locatelli from midfield scored 2 goals in their last game. He's been incredible. He's only 23 years old. So as long as they can keep scoring at this rate, I think they're going to be very, very difficult to beat, because there are very, very few teams in the world that are going to score 3 goals against a center back pairing of Chiellini and Bonucci, especially when you have Donnarumma behind them. So it's probably not sustainable for them to score 3 goals every single game, but if they can keep getting production from their strikers and midfielders getting involved in the attack and scoring, I think it's going to be really tough to beat them because of how defensively solid they are.
Yep. And actually, speaking of that same exact group, I think another team that was kind of highly disregarded in a way, and in a disrespectful way, I think, was Wales. I think when you think of Wales, you only think of Gareth Bale and maybe Daniel James, right? Or maybe Aaron Ramsey. But looking at that Wales team, they have a lot of intriguing pieces. Like Moore up front, that's an intriguing piece because that leaves Gareth Bale to do whatever damage he needs to do in the midfield. You look at Ramsey as well, who can be a forward, but is also a midfielder. You look at Daniel James, who's just streaky fast. Davis in the backfield, like that's a good name back there. And their keeper, Ward has been actually pretty decent as well. So I'm kind of intrigued by this Wales team. I think that They probably won't go very, very far, but it's a good representation of their football and the development of what could be to come in many years out of that country, which is highly needed, especially in an era where we're seeing 22 and 23-year-olds already making a big name for themselves. I mean, you think of, you know, what's the youngling from Barcelona?
Ansu Fati.
Ansu Fati, thank you. Yeah, you're thinking of Ansu Fati. You're thinking of Kylian Mbappe, Haaland. I mean, you're looking at all these three people, and they're just peaking at this point. They're in their 20s, peaking, big talent. So, congrats to Wales. I mean, they're clearly almost secure to advance. They just need either, yeah, they need a tie basically, or they need Switzerland to just not win, and they'll be fine.
Well, here's the thing though, they've beaten Switzerland, so they have the tiebreaker over them automatically. So they're in a good position right now.
Yeah.
Basically, all they need to do in order to successfully get the runner-up in Group A is not get blown out by Italy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. If you keep it close to Italy, Wales is already moving on.
Yep.
And in my opinion, this Wales team had some serious potential in this group at the beginning of the tournament, and here we are.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what this team has the rest of the way. I don't think, like you said, they will go far, as they will probably. I could potentially see them, if they're the runner-up, they'd play the runner-up of Group B, which we'll get into. Could be Russia, could be Finland. I mean, there's some potential that we could see like a Russia, Finland versus Wales in the round of 16, and I think Wales could win that easily.
Yeah.
So we could see them in the quarterfinals potentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Wales does well at these. They don't make these tournaments that often historically, but when they do, it seems they do really well because they made that great run back in 2016 as well. So I think they're a fun team to watch at this tournament. And I think maybe it's a little under the radar, but I don't think we should be too surprised just because, like you guys have both said, they have a lot of interesting pieces and they play really well together as a team too.
Yep. Now let's move over to Group B. Clear leader in that one. Nobody ever expected them to not be the leader. Belgium. Right behind is Russia and Finland. And then Denmark has, unfortunately, not gotten any points here. Not to any fault of their own, especially when they're missing their superstar. Which, real quick, great news about Christian Eriksen. He was able to be released out of the hospital, headed back home, show up to the training camp to support the Danish team. But his future is still up in question. Just seeing the amount of work that they had to do on him to just, get him out of there. The good news is all that matters is that he's up and running. He's alive. He's doing well. He's been released and he's with his family. So, congrats to Christian Eriksen on being a very unfortunate moment. But let's move over to Belgium. We knew this team was going to be insane. I mean, they're the number one team in the world for a reason, right? So obviously they're going to be insane. Andrew or Chris, give us your takes on Belgium right away.
Kevin De Bruyne literally single-handedly helped them win this game.
Yeah.
He came on in the 45th minute in the first half, and he had the assist on Hazard's goal in the 54th, and then he scored in the 70th. He made an impact right away the second that he inserted himself into the lineup. And not for nothing, Denmark played a fantastic game.
Yeah.
Not having your captain in Christian Eriksen and still managing to only lose by a goal because Kevin De Bruyne literally just took over. I'd say that's a win for Denmark moving forward. Obviously, you saw what happened in the game against Finland. You don't wish that upon anybody. So for me personally, I think this game was more about Denmark keeping up with Belgium rather than Belgium beating Denmark. Because if you thought about it at the beginning of this game, people thought that Belgium were going to potentially run over Denmark. And Denmark kept it really close the entire way. And personally, I think we're going to be looking at if the front three of Lukaku, De Bruyne, and Mertens for them. And if they're going to get going, they're going to be they're a tough team. But I think my only thing with Belgium is don't ask me why, their defense just does not do it for me. That the 3-4-2-1 formation, having Vertonghen, Alderweireld, and Denier as your three center backs is probably the only reason why I don't think that they win this year in the Euro competition.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree too. Belgium, I think you could say, can attack with any other team in this tournament. I'm not sure if they can defend with any other team in this tournament. So I would say they have yet to play a team that really has world-class attacking talent. So who knows what will happen when they come up against a team like that. I think they're very solid and should, at a bare minimum, get to those quarterfinals that we talked about in the past, where it might be a potential Italy-Belgium matchup there. But from that point on, you never know. I could see that game going either way, depending on who shows up to play at what point. If De Bruyne shows up like he did today, they're going to be a tough team to beat. Yeah, but you do have to feel for Denmark. I think you can't really say enough about the character that those players have shown to sort of rally together around Eriksen and fight on in this tournament. And I would love for them to end the tournament by grabbing a win and getting 3 points. Probably wouldn't be enough to advance into the knockouts, but that would be a nice story for them.
I don't know.
You never know. If they score enough goals, they could get through.
They play what? Russia? The next game is Russia.
Yeah,
because it happened against Finland.
And Belgium plays Finland. Yeah,
it could happen.
That's true. Yeah, if Belgium beats Finland,
it could happen.
Yeah,
it could happen.
That would be a story. Yeah.
Here's the thing about Belgium, though, that I'm not quite bought on yet.
Okay.
Chris touched upon it earlier, which is the back three, right? You got Vertonghen, Denier, and Alderweireld. On top of that, you also counted on a very shaky goalie that hasn't been threatened yet. And the one time that he had a threat, he was scored on, which was Denmark, Josef Poulsen at the second minute. He was threatened, he got a goal on, right? So when I think of goalies for Belgium, they really don't have that many options. You got Courtois and you got Simon Mignolet, which maybe a B grade player, maybe an A minus, if anything. But he's not a stronghold like Gianluigi Donnarumma is for Italy, right? Besides those three defenders, you really don't have great defending pieces either. You're counting on Boyata, you're counting on Sals, and you're counting on maybe Trossard, which really not that great of options. If there's anything that is a major threat for Belgium, is that midfield to almost the front, because you got Hazard, Tielemans, the Donker, Menoyer, Mertens, and Ferreira Carrasco, right? Sure, Carrasco you can replace it with Witzel, De Bruyne, Hazard, like that's great and all. But Yuri Tielemans was also a questionable piece for Belgium in this Danish in this meetup against the Danish. He was hardly involved, hardly had any influence in the game. If it wasn't with Kevin De Bruyne coming in and getting involved, their style of play wouldn't have opened up. So I'm curious to see how Belgium will go up against somebody like Portugal, somebody like France, maybe even somebody like Germany. Even though Germany hasn't been able to get things running up and down, the German team actually looked really good against France too. So I like where Belgium is, but I think Belgium had a lot of luck with this draw, considering that not a lot of heavy competition here. I like to see what they do in the quarterfinals. I like to see when they're met up against somebody, even like Netherlands. Netherlands is also firing up on all cylinders, and they have a solid foundation. Do we want to move over quick to just Group C? I think there's really not that much to talk about Group B either. Group C, we got Netherlands, Ukraine, Austria, North Macedonia. North Macedonia was decent. They hold their ground. Unfortunately, just nothing going for them.
Before we get on about anything that has to do with this group, talk about North Macedonia. There's a attacking midfielder / striker for North Macedonia who has come on as a substitute in both games, right? And he has more shots on target than England does as a team.
Well,
I want that on the record.
There you
It
go.
needs to be on the record. And we'll talk about England very soon. Well, I don't think we're spending that much time on Group C. So Netherlands.
Yep.
Great team overall. Great foundation. Memphis Depay, Denzel Dumfries, who we didn't really get to hear much about, but he's given a phenomenal name for himself. Frankie de Jong, Wijnaldum, Weghorst, Mattis Elite, Dali Blind. Their goalie has been also decent as well, even though it's their third string goalie, considering that two of them, one of them ended up getting very sick, and the other one just, I don't know what happened with the other one. But just looking at them real quick, their bench also consists of Nathan Ake, Luke de Jong, Tim Kroll, who can possibly forget about Tim Kroll, especially with Norwich City. And then they have
Quincy Promise, Steven Bourgeois, David Klaassen.
David Klaassen. Yeah, David Klaassen has also been real good. So let's talk about this Dutch team real quick. Andrew, I'm going to start with you. Give us some takes on Netherlands.
Yeah, I think coming into the tournament, this was one of the teams that I was most interested in watching because they're just so young, and it feels like they're one of those teams on the rise that maybe in a couple cycles are going to be contending for World Cups and Euros. I think it still probably feels a little bit like they're missing a big piece in defense because they are in Virgil van Dijk. I think he could be a real X factor at this tournament if he was healthy. Unfortunately, he's not, but they're still comfortably the best team in their group. They should win all 3 games. They've already clinched the first spot in the group, I think. But they would be playing one of the third place teams, I believe, either from Group D or Group E. But that could sneaky be a pretty tough matchup at this moment in time.
Yeah, it's E. It's D through F. I think that could be in any one of those.
Okay, interesting. So at this moment in time, this can change, but at this moment in time, those 3 teams are Croatia, Spain, and France. So those are 3 very, very tough teams. If you're playing a third place team, you're expecting to get someone not quite as good as that, I think. Yeah. So that could be a tough game for the Netherlands. Any way it goes. Of course, there's other teams that they could potentially be playing, but I think that might be something that would hurt them, having played 3 games against 3 teams that are certainly worse on paper than those 3 teams. But I still think they could make a decent run. They have enough young talent that I think they could hang with anyone on any given day. So I'm really excited to see how they go in the knockouts, because I think that's where their tournament really starts.
All right, Chris, over to you, sir.
They're a talented group. Don't get me wrong. Their formation they're in against Austria is a little bit weird, don't you think? The 3-4-1-2 with that style of team and the way that they can play. I wasn't. My brain is working. I wasn't too ideal on why they were running this formation. Obviously, it worked. They went 2-0 against Austria, but if, in my opinion, you got to be running. If you're running 4 in the back, you better be playing Quincy Promise every game. That's my big thing. If they're not running 4 in the back, then Quincy Promise doesn't have a spot on this team, because Denzel Dumfries already has that right mid locked automatically. So if you're not comfortable having Quincy Promise as your right back here, this is why you run a formation like this. Now I'm thinking about it, but I don't know. Yeah. I'm just based off of the teams that they could play, even not. It's not saying like Spain, France, or Croatia, but like you can get like Croatia, you could get Sweden, you could get Portugal, Germany. There's a list of teams that they could potentially play in the round of 16 that I don't think would be a great matchup for them. So, yeah. And also, just waiting for them to miss Virgil van Dijk, because if they had him and Mateus Delit, they would have probably one of the best center back duos in the tournament.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, the only thing that I can say about Netherlands is, so we've talked about who they could potentially play in the next round. Just looking at those three teams, whether it's Croatia, Spain, and France, or whether it's whatever combination, one of the biggest lethal things that Netherlands has built in for themselves is that right wing with Denzel Dumfries. A lot of these teams overall are not really good with the coverage on the right wing in itself. It seems like all across Europe right now, that's the one thing that is lacking. That defensive mindset for that right wing is completely disregarded. And when you got somebody as lethal as Denzel Dumfries that can create a play in any given second in that position, I think that gives Netherlands a huge edge. I do agree that without having Virgil van Dijk available is a big concern for them coming up in their defensive scheme of things. But when you got an offensive powerhouse of Memphis Depay, Gini Wijnaldum to add up onto, I think in itself, Netherlands could see themselves in the semifinals potentially. It all depends on who they play next and how they play the next game. I do agree with Chris that previous formation against Austria was a little bit weird, but it is against Austria, who is a weird style of play nation in itself. So you kind of need to create that weird foundation in itself and get that going. And it was an attack that was sufficient. That 4 formation in the midfield was more than sufficient enough to get Netherlands that edge to get over Austria. Never mind the fact that Austria has been a tough team to compete against, and never mind Ukraine as well. Ukraine has been building that great story for themselves, especially with Yarmolenko. Yarmolenko has been very good thus far. He's been very reliable for them. It was one of the concerning pieces of this whole entire team in itself, because he just hadn't had much of that attacking foundation going for themselves. But I think having somebody as an inspiration like Shevchenko coaching you and having a good set of young core and Zinchenko, Stepanenko, and Shaparenko in themselves creates a good opportunity for Yarmolenko to finally contribute to this team that highly needs him. Hence why they're in the second position right now. So congrats to Ukraine too. I thought they were highly disregarded as well. It's one of those teams that are not going to go down without a fight. That's for sure. And they're shown as that fight so far in 2 games. But let's move over to Group D. This is a group that we spent a lot of time talking about in the last episode. Is a group that's given us a lot to talk about as well. Once again, Czech Republic, England, Croatia, and Scotland. We're gonna start with Chris, giving us his Czech Republic takes here as well, because I'm sure we're all gonna have something to say about England. So give it away, as Czech Republic.
I thought the Czech Republic were going to be the worst team in this tournament, to be completely honest with you. And they have played like they've been on a mission this entire tournament so far. They have probably one of the biggest games that I've seen a Czech Republic team have this coming week against England. The winner gets Group D. If Czech win or draw, they get Group D. England needs to win in order to win Group D. So it's a big game for them. And, you know, we talked about this last week. England versus Scotland. Andrew said perfectly. Andrew said, I'm scared because you know that Scotland's going to show up because it's a rivalry game. And boy, did they ever. England had legitimately nothing going yesterday for them. And they dominated the ball 61% to 39%, but it did not look like that at all. If you watch that game and in general, Gareth Southgate, who do I have to preach to have you play Jack Grealish, man? Why is this man not starting for you? Why is Jack Grealish not on the pitch from the second kickoff starts? I don't understand. I don't get it. Harry Kane has looked disinterested the entire tournament so far. He looks like he's more focused on where he's playing next season rather than repping his team at the Euros right now. And I don't know, Pickford looked good again. But for me, I think this game was more about how well Scotland played England than England not playing up to the level that they could with the talent that they have. I think if you're England, Jack Grealish should be in your lineup every single time. The fact also that they're wasting Jadon Sancho, who's just sitting on their bench, it's a travesty because this team is so talented and has so much depth. Why aren't they giving guys like Jadon Sancho a chance? Why aren't they giving Jack Grealish a chance? Why are we continuing to start Raheem Sterling? Why is Reece James playing at right back over Kyle Walker? What are we doing here? What is Gareth Southgate thinking? You know, as someone who's not an England supporter, you know, every time if you look on anywhere, if you're an England supporter, the one thing you talk about is having it come home. And if they're gonna play like this, like I said when they played against Croatia, if this is the England team that we're going to see for this tournament, they are not coming even close to bringing it home. No way. This team is too young and too talented to be playing at the level that they are now. They need to be better, and it all starts with Jack Grealish inserting himself into the lineup.
All right. So England takes, because I thought we were just going to talk about Czech Republic, but we transitioned fast into England. So I take that. England takes. Andrew, give it away.
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, I was rooting for Scotland in this game, and I was pretty impressed with their performance. I think they showed up and did exactly what they needed to do to get a result in London to keep their hopes alive for the tournament. So now they're coming back home, back to Glasgow. They get a chance to play Croatia if they can win that game, they're probably through into the knockouts, whether it's in the third spot or the second spot. 4 points in this tournament is usually enough to get you through. So I think Scotland is pretty happy with where they're at right now. And I'm happy that they've kept their tournament alive heading into the last game. And I think they deserved a draw. England did not really offer a whole lot in attack. It's crazy when you look at the list of talented attacking players, how much creativity you would expect to have in that side, and they just aren't generating much at all. I mean, Jadon Sancho hasn't played a minute in this tournament. I don't think he was even on the bench in the first game. Most people would say he's probably one of England's most creative attacking players. You could have him and Grealish on the wings. That would be an incredible combination in my opinion. But it just hasn't happened. They haven't been on the pitch at the same time at all because Sancho hasn't been on the pitch for a single minute through 2 games. I don't really have too much of a problem with what they're doing at the back. I think Mings and Stones have been pretty good together. Stones actually came closest to scoring for England in the whole game. Pickford, I think, was good again, made a really nice save on O'Donnell, I think it was, for Scotland at one point in that game. I think his distribution has also been good, and I think he's done a nice job of commanding his area on crosses and things like that too. They have a lot of fullbacks on their team. I didn't really mind Luke Shaw coming in at left back just because he's actually a left-footed player, so I think that's an okay change to make, although Trippier was pretty good in the first game. Yeah, Reece James, I think he had a really good season for Chelsea, so I didn't really hate that change either. At the very least, you get a little bit of squad rotation there. But then in midfield and attack, it's just not really any identity. For moments there, I thought I was watching Everton with just the way it seemed like they weren't having anything going for them. They couldn't get the ball into the box. They couldn't string together passes at times. It was, yeah. I mean, if you're an England supporter, it has to be pretty frustrating to watch because you just look at the names on the team sheet and you think, yeah, at the very least, we're going to play exciting attacking football and generate chances. But it hasn't happened that way at all. So
I think my only thing that I could see going through Garrett Southgate's head is the fact that Raheem Sterling and Phil Foden were part of probably one of the most dominating teams the entire year. But at the same time, you got to think, how's their form? How's their fitness? They've played a lot of games over the past 12 months. I don't understand how you have a guy like Jadon Sancho who hasn't really played in this competition at all and probably hasn't played in a game in like a month and a half maybe. And then you have Jack Grealish who literally had his injury with Villa, came back and dominated, and he's barely touched the field as well. Like, I think he's relying too highly on these Man City talent up front. They need more creative pieces and guys that have fresh legs. And I think hopefully Southgate sees that, and we'll see it in match day 3 for England.
Yeah.
So I've had a lineup in my mind this whole entire time for England that I've been thinking about. And they're giving me more the reason to make me believe that I am 100% correct on it, which I hate being 100% correct on it, because when I'm 100% correct on it, it fucking works and it brings results. This English team, I couldn't agree with you guys more. I don't know what brick landed on Gareth Southgate's head. I don't know who he's dreaming of. I don't know if maybe he's being asked to play this Manchester City talent at all times just to notify the fact that Manchester City won the Premier League. Like, okay, congratulations. Woohoo. You got blown away against Chelsea in the Champions League. So shut the hell up. All right. Manchester City's not that great. All right.
I wouldn't say blown away, but they
got blown away. They got blown away. They got their asses handed in technicalities all the way through in that whole entire game. They got blown away. It's as simple as that. When I look at England, it bothers me the living hell out of it that they got so much talent rotting in this freaking bench. I mean, you got Grealish, Rashford, Trippier, Sancho, Calvert-Lewin, Bellingham, Jude Bellingham, 20, however many years old the kid is, okay?
17.
An excellent talent out of Borussia Dortmund. Borussia Dortmund wouldn't have been that good this season at all. Would have been a lot worse if Jude Bellingham wasn't involved in the midfield mindset. What in God's good name does Gareth Southgate have to do or to realize that Jude Bellingham is an essential piece of this English foundation that you're trying to build? You're trying to bring it home, and you're not doing so at all. You're not even trying. You've given up because you are too wrapped up around Harry Kane's legs and hoping that he has a mindset of actually wanting to bring it home. Harry Kane does not care for the English team right now. He just doesn't. His mindset right now is, do I leave Tottenham or do I not? Who is going to be my next coach at Tottenham? And where do I go from here next? How much money do I want in my life coming up next? That's really it. That is all that Harry Kane is thinking. He hasn't given you results. He has not been in any part of the place at all. In fact, the only goal that England has scored was Raheem Sterling on a flop of a goal that basically was created by a couple other guys who created that play. Calvin Phillips, for example. Calvin Phillips has been a phenomenal and sensational story for England. How do you not give him enough tools for him to truly develop a game in itself for England where they actually show the fury that they could be in this tournament? England was regarded as the best team overall for the Euro 2020 coming up. They are not doing so. They're not even close to being the best team in this Euro 2020. Belgium is, Italy is, Portugal can certainly be it, considering that they're giving us enough proof that they can certainly be it. Hell, even Germany right now looks better than England. And Germany's not even trying. So what are you doing?
It's not that Germany's not trying.
They also have a heart.
They ran into a buzzsaw in France the first game.
Like let's say if Germany had landed in Group B with Belgium, Russia in
Finland.
In Finland, thank you. That would have been a hell of a group. They got the group of death. It is what it is. Okay, great. But how do you, as Gareth Southgate, realize that this 4-3-3 is not going to work and it's not going to work? You have a lot of players in this foundation that are used to either a 4-1-3-2, a 4-4-2, or a 4-3-1-2 formation. They're not gonna give you the 4-3-3 that Italy is giving to Mancini right now, because in their format it truly works. If you are Gareth Southgate for this next upcoming game, you've got to change it up and completely. In my mind, the really ideal mindset that Gareth Southgate should be going is a 4-1-3-2 formation where he pushes Calvin Phillips a little bit back, because while I like Kyle Walker a lot, and I think he does bring great results, I don't think Reece James is the answer for that piece either. Because sure, Reece James was competitive for Chelsea, but he also had a different foundation then. He had a 3-5-2 formation then, where Reece James just made sense there. In this lineup right now, it just doesn't. So if I was to start my 4-1-3-2 formation and I was Gareth Southgate, obviously I continue with Pickford. Pickford has been good so far for England. I start Calvin Phillips, Stones, Ming, and Trippier in the back. I keep Declan Rice as my stopper, because Declan Rice has actually given me enough to remind myself that he is a decent stopper. He is that value that he's looking for in that formation. I start with Sancho, Bellingham, and Grealish. You need that young core in your midfield. Sancho is incredibly good at playmaking, incredibly good in that wing. If it wasn't for Sancho, I'll say this: Haaland wouldn't have scored as many goals as he did if it wasn't for Sancho. And it showed. At the end of the Champions League run, Sancho was not around. Neither was Borussia Dortmund, because Haaland couldn't get to scoring. Sancho was not creating the pieces for Haaland to be able to cause the havoc that he can. So if you're thinking that Sancho's not going to work for you, then Gareth Southgate, you're not the man for the job. Get out. Quit while you're at it. Obviously, Bellingham, Sancho and Bellingham have had a very, very good chemistry all around as they've been playing. And I think that they can do this for the English team. And Jack Grealish, how do you not start Jack Grealish? The one game that you started the guy gave you results. He was the man of the match. He was literally the man that everyone thought that England had the upper leg on because of Jack Grealish. And you got Rashford and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who are go-getters, who can bring you results. How do you not put those two in the front? I mean, Phil Foden, yeah, like he's good and all, but Foden, Kane, and Sterling are clearly not working out for you, buddy. And they're not going to. You need two pieces that are focused on driving goals. And that is Rashford and that is Dominic Calvert-Lewin for you. That really is your foundation there. You can argue that Sterling should probably start over Rashford. Okay, fair, because Sterling has at least provided some sort of results here because he scored a goal. But how do you not start Dominic Calvert-Lewin over Harry Kane right now? Harry Kane isn't interested. I mean, you gotta wake up at some point. You gotta wake up. You're embarrassing your nation. The best national club league in the world right now, and you're embarrassing it in every aspect of it. Because if there was any other league that is better than the English Premier League right now, I'm not sure what that would be. I'm not entirely sure what that would be. Maybe Serie A, maybe La Liga, just a big if. But other than the English Premier League, there's no better league in the world right now. And you're embarrassing the English national team with his lineups. So that's that. I dove into Gareth Southgate. I'm sorry. It just pisses me off that he's wasting so much talent in that bench just by continuing to rely on the same exact mindset that just isn't working out for you. You're literally embracing Mourinho at its worst. but then, digging into Croatia, and by the way, I'm not taking anything away from Scotland. I actually like the fact that Luke Shaw started in this game because he had to deal with the physicality, Scotty McTominay. He had to deal with the attack from what's his name, from O'Donnell as well. He had to deal with Adams as well in that wing. At times he had to deal with Billy Gilmore as well. So like, if there's anybody that you gotta have there for physicality purposes and for quickness purposes to just stump the ball to the side, that's Luke Shaw.
You mentioned Billy Gilmore. How good was he too, considering this is his first start for Scotland?
He was
20 years
amazing.
old. That's a
absolutely
huge
amazing
performance from him.
So, and Kieran Tierney as well. Like Tierney, New England Revolution boy, he was good. He was good.
Brothers, yeah.
Brothers.
Not really, but
yeah. Just a quick
he was just
good. Just a quick update on the France game. Antoine Griezmann has tied the game at 1 in the 66th minute.
Oh my God! All right, let's go. Let's go quickly. Sweden, Slovakia, Spain, and Poland. Sweden is surprisingly the group leader here.
Poland.
It's the Boston accent, kid. It's the Boston accent. Fucking piss.
Oh, no, Poland, kid. Yeah, Poland.
Poland Springs, kid. That's what I'm thinking about.
One thing I will say about this group is the game today between Spain and Poland is a must watch and will dictate how this group will play out. Because if Spain wins, Spain's winning the group. If it's a draw between the two, then we're starting to look at a little potential controversy here. So looking forward, I'm interested to see this game be played out today. But I think that we will see the group be won by Spain. I think Spain gets the job done today. You know what? I don't think they get the job done today, but I think they at least put themselves in a good enough position where when they play Slovakia or match day 3, they have a realistic chance of winning the group. I'll say that.
Yeah, because I'm looking at Sweden and I'm like, I'm just not convinced that Sweden should really be the leading part of this group.
They scored 1 goal in 2 games and literally haven't given up one. So that's all it's been.
Right. Yeah. Like Forsberg, he's good. Like he's a decent player. And so is Larson and so is Lindelof. But besides that, what do you really have for Sweden going?
Alexander Isak, the striker, has been one of the most impressive players of the tournament for me. The way he's been able to dribble and create chances for himself, it's been impressive. But yeah, I mean, on paper, I definitely would have said Spain would not have too much trouble winning this group. So I'm pretty surprised with how it's gone through the first couple of games so far.
I'm surprised in Slovakia as well. They got 3 points and they look solid. Like they're decent, but it's Spain right now really needs to win against Poland. I'd be concerned if I was Robert Lewandowski too, because your Polish team is really not giving you that many tools to work with either.
No.
Lewandowski is really having to do it all. He's having to. I mean, the last game that he played, he was literally defending, center midfield, and forward, all 3 pieces. How do you even have dreams of taking it to the next stage, so that's Group E. Group F for fudge and brownies. Okay. France, Portugal, Hungary, Germany. France, Hungary right now playing 1-1. Hungary, if anything. Okay. We know how good France is. We know how good Portugal is. And we know that Germany has a lot of talent where they can make it further here, right? How good has Hungary been, though? I mean, they've given hell to everybody and anybody that they have faced. They gave hell to
Portugal.
They gave hell to Portugal, which that was a tough game for Portugal to play. Hungary had them shut down at all times.
Until the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, if it wasn't until Renato Sanchez came in, and if it wasn't until if it wasn't until Rafa Silva came in, I'm sure that game would have ended 0-0. If those two substitutions weren't made, that game would have ended 0-0 because, frankly, for Portugal, I hate to say this because I really think he was going to be a big result, but Diogo Jota was nowhere to be found for Portugal.
Dude, he was so bad in that game.
He sucked, and I like Diogo Jota. I actually like him. Like when Chris praises him on Liverpool, like, yeah, you gotta praise him because he's giving you results. But I'm looking at this Portugal game, and dude, you were given every single opportunity to score, and you flunked at it. Fernandes was creating chances for you. Bernardo Silva was creating chances for you. Hell, Ronaldo was literally just putting it in the line right there for you, and you shot it. Like, what in the world are you doing, Diogo Jota? Like, I can't say anymore because I could do a full episode on just shitting on Diogo Jota if I could. But this hungry team, man, they are hungry.
They are very
really
hungry.
are.
I think this Portugal-Germany game today is going to be really interesting in terms of dictating what happens in the long run in the group because
two very different styles of play too.
Yeah.
Wow,
like,
way to take what I said about Group E, Andrew. Fucking word for word. I think this game will dictate how the group plays. Look at me. I mean,
pardon us. Chris Jones just had a moment. Go ahead.
No, yeah. I mean, I think it's a similar situation to Group B for sure. I mean, these are. You probably would have picked France to win the group. They're having a serious challenge on their hands right now against Hungary. But if they can find another goal and win that game, I think the game between Portugal and France will pretty much decide who gets second place, because if Germany can get the 3 points, they then will play Hungary, where Portugal will have to play France. That's a tough matchup. But if Portugal can get a draw or win, I think they're pretty much in the driver's seat for the second spot in the group. So Germany needs to come out fighting. I mean, I actually thought they were pretty decent in that game against France. I don't think they played poorly, certainly. France is just, I mean, that midfield of Pogba and Conte is unreal. I could watch those two play together all day long. I think they're so exciting the way they complement each other. But yeah, Germany will have an easier time against Portugal, of course. More opportunity to try and get in behind and score.
Conte and Pogba have a chemistry stronger than Romeo and Juliet. Like, forget about Romeo and Juliet. Conte and Pogba is the next.
It's incredible. They're so good together.
Fun fact: Conte has a bigger wagon than Juliet.
Again, pardon us. Chris Jones had a moment.
I mean, but like, if you designed two players from scratch to work well together, I don't think you could do much better than Conte and Pogba.
No, you really can't.
Unreal.
Yep. So that does it. Unless, Chris, you have anything else to say, but that should do it for Euro 2020. Because we gotta move on. We
spent a lot of time on Euro 2020. Shit.
I mean, it's so many groups. It's so many people participating. How can you do it? Copa America, Group A being led off by Brazil, Colombia, and Venezuela. Group B being led off by Argentina, Chile, and Paraguay. A lot of issues happening with Copa America, though. It's all surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic, still wreaking havoc through the region. It is more than likely that this whole entire tournament might actually get postponed until further notice, because way too many players are coming up with positive results with this pandemic. It's a big issue, and it's a lot of risk, especially when you have talents like Neymar, Messi, Juan Cuadrado for Colombia. Like, it's a lot of issues. The interesting piece here, though, is not to brag, but Colombia has turned it around. Colombia has managed to turn it around. They were one of the worst teams in South America for a little bit. They just couldn't get their chemistry going. They couldn't bring results. But they faced some pretty tough matches against Ecuador and Venezuela, and have managed to have and Peru as well, and managed to get away with 4 points so far in this competition with 2 games played. Brazil is obviously the clear leader. I mean, 6 points, nothing better you can say. Argentina and Chile in Group B tied up at 4 points with 2 games played, which is interesting because every single time that Argentina and Chile have played against themselves, they have tied. The first game, Argentina didn't look like Argentina, but the second game, Chile looked like a militia just ready to take people's legs left and right. It was the most disgusting game I've ever watched of soccer in terms of physicality. It was absolutely disgusting. Other than that, like there's really not that much going on in Copa America. Uruguay for some odd reason has died off. They played one game and they lost against Argentina, which I mean, fair. Argentina is Argentina, but Uruguay is also Uruguay. You got 2 very strong offensive attack mindsets in Cavani and Suarez. So I'm surprised it didn't work out for them.
I mean, they played a pretty good game. It's just they got a bad draw having played them game 1. I think we'll start seeing the Uruguay of old as they played Chile. Chile's played very well so far in this group stage. So I wouldn't be surprised if Chile upsets them. But once we get to the lower part of the group, when they have to play Bolivia and then they have to play Paraguay again, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah. One thing that worries me a little bit about Argentina is that they've scored 2 goals, Messi free kick and a Messi assist. We talked about it a little bit last time, but they don't really have too much going on offensively outside of Messi. So they need to sort that out while they're still in the group stage, I think, because if he's off for 1 game, I don't really see what else they have at the moment, which is a problem.
Yeah. But anyways, Copa America, a lot of games to be played. 3 more games to be played for the leaders, and about 4 games to go for Ecuador, Peru, Uruguay, and Paraguay. We'll see how this lands, but I'm just not sure that tournament's gonna be able to be finalized with what's going on with COVID-19 in that region. So just praying and hoping no more risk for the players. Hoping they figure it out. Now onto the transfer window. I joked about earlier that Tottenham has been going through a tougher breakup than any of Taylor Swift's albums, which is true. They were said to have signed Paulo Fonseca as their next head coach. Whatever went wrong in this deal, or whatever could have gone wrong in this deal, went absolutely wrong. And Paulo Fonseca is no longer the Tottenham coach. What a career for Paulo Fonseca at Tottenham. Now they were after Gennaro Gattuso, and Gattuso was like, "No, thank you. I'd rather not." Who does Tottenham go after? Do they go after Zinedine Zidane, like just for shits and giggles? Like, who do they go after on that?
In all honesty, former Dortmund coach Lucien Favre.
It's not a bad call. It really isn't.
I'd say it's one of the better options out there. I've seen that maybe Crystal Palace are trying to get him, but you would think that
if Tottenham, if I'm choosing between Tottenham and Crystal Palace, I'm choosing Tottenham.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's insane. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this where we think they're hiring multiple managers in the space of a couple days and just none of them work out at all.
I just think it's I think it has a lot to do with the fact that they don't even know who's going to be on this team come the first match day.
I mean, one thing is for sure, Heung-min Son is coming back to the club. He's already agreed to coming back to the club, but
it's a period of turmoil for sure. I'm not envying them at the moment. I mean, I think both Tottenham and Everton need to get a manager in sooner rather than later so they can actually decide on a direction and start going towards it. Because right now, I think both clubs are kind of just just
Sitting there.
Yeah, just sitting there in the water, paddling to stay afloat without going in any one direction.
You know what's the
which isn't a
funniest
great
thing too
place
that
to
could
be.
happen here too, right? Like
What's that?
Like Tottenham could go get Rafa Benitez if Everton can,
Oh,
but
please.
Everton could get Zinedine Zidane, and James Rodriguez is out of Everton.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone knows right now. I really don't. I mean, there's been so many names thrown around. Different journalists have reported that Everton have been close to different names. I don't think anyone knows what's going on.
I just
I
feel
told you,
bad
dude.
for
I'm in the top.
Fabrizio.
I'm in the top 3. But if
Right.
you want me to take the job, Andrew, I will. But
I'd prefer you to Rafa Benitez, if I'm being
Okay.
honest.
Okay.
Rafa Jones.
Rafa Jones.
Or Chris Benitez. Chris Benitez. There you go.
Yeah. Sounds gross. I'd rather be Rafa Jones.
Oh God. Imagine Diego Galvez, head coach of Tottenham. Rafa Jones, head coach of Everton.
There we go. Diego at Tottenham, Chris at Everton.
What? Imagine going from being just a podcast host to to being a guy in charge.
Oh man.
What a world. All right. I think that basically does it
Yeah.
for episode 40.
I'll say this. I'll say this.
Okay.
I think Nuno Espirito Santo ends in Everton. I think that's where he goes.
I would prefer him to Rafa, to be honest. I think at the very least the fans would be willing to give him a chance and get behind him at the start.
Oh, easily. Easily.
So my first 2 choices out of the names that I've seen would be Christophe Galtier, who just won Ligue 1 with Lille and is out of a job, or Graham Potter, but it kind of seems like neither of those are going to happen at the moment. So I don't know.
You know what would be an interesting play for Tottenham? Diego? Because you and I were talking about no, because you and I were talking about this guy the other day. Joachim Lau.
It's not a bad call.
No, it's not. Especially with the fact that he's done with Germany. All right, yep, that does it for episode 40. Yellow Tar Podcast. Thank you again. Thank you again to Couch Guy Sports for allowing us to be on your platform for 40 episodes. This has been a fantastic ride, and we can't thank you enough. Make sure you guys go use Exogun again. Code CGS10 in the chat in the checkout for that in the chat. Yeah, we're recording a podcast, Jones. Fucking figure it out, you dork. I
love
that he's wrapping up the episode.
For myself, Everton fan Andrew Fasciano, and Manchester United and Colombian super fan Diego Galvez signing off. We'll see you guys next week as we talk about the round of 16.
All right, so Chris Jones is off air. Bye, everybody.